So hi, very good afternoon to all of you. And so today, this is all of sudden information that your polity class was replaced with the modern Indian history. So today we'll be starting with the first class of the modern Indian history. But before that, obviously there must be some introduction so that you know about me, that who this person is, who is there at this point of time. So I am not audible. आवाज नहीं आ रही है. एक बार चेक करो. आवाज आ रही है अभी चेक करना चलो ठीक है आ रही है so now audible so first of all my name is Neeraj Rao and I am one of the oldest faculty of this institute and from the very beginning when we started Vijay and I started the classroom program so I'm the one who is responsible for the history section and in the history section what all things I will be taking in your class so obviously that modern Indian history today is the first class then ancient and medieval again that would be taken by me then art and culture that is also the one subject which I will be taking and then after that post independence is the one section where that some other people can also take there is a possibility that I can also take and world history the only one part of the history which I will not be taking and that will be taken by somebody else then so basically that good chunk of classes in your batch related to history it would be covered by me so very first class today is the very first class and it was all of sudden information that I need to take this class so I need to tell you about the today's class that today's class it's going to be mostly introductory then introductory and going by this term introductory, I will be telling you that entire modern Indian history in a nutshell, that a brief story I'll be telling you today. Moreover, you will be clear with the chronology since we are studying history and you know history is a subject which is incomplete without the chronology. Once you are a little bit aware, I'm not saying that you have mastered the chronology. It will come that you will be able to master the chronology only after some point of time. Then when you are regularly revising and looking at the things. So you will be mastering, but in the beginning when you have seen the chronology so there would be a clear idea in your mind that how things were evolving how things were happening and what was the causation of the particular event then so chronology is important from the perspective of the history that even in ancient and medieval history it is very important even in the world history also it is very important and so same way it is important in the modern Indian history so we'll be looking at the chronology of the things and one more thing that we need to see in this class, that trend analysis of this particular section, that history sections. So trend analysis of the history section, that how many questions you can expect from this section in the prelims examination, mains examination, and what is the kind of evidence available before us on the basis of which we can say that how many questions we can expect. It is the previous year paper. So we'll be doing the trend analysis. We'll be looking at the previous year paper, that how many questions were asked from this section in the prelims examination and in the mains examination. Moreover, that one very important aspect in the very first class, whenever any such subject is going to start in the in your batch or any other batch, so people do have the queries regarding the reference book. So here also I'll be talking about the reference book. I'll be replying to all your queries regarding the reference book. Then, so the formal course, our formal course will start tomorrow, but that today's class, I will say it is one of the most important class because you will get to know that overall crux of the history, that modern Indian history in the today's class. So let's begin with the agenda of the today's class. So I have PPTs today to show you regarding this chronology, but I just need to give you one disclaimer also. So what is this disclaimer? That the mode of the class. Then so mode of the class. So basically the mode of the class, some places in some sections I will be showing you some of the PPTs then, but I am not a person who is oriented towards PPT and I do believe that it is helpful, but solely relying on the PPT, solely that operating with the mode of the PPT, I don't feel that it is much helping to you. It is just like a PDF that you are reading. So wherever it would be there, its PPTs would be delivered to you. It will be uploaded on your platform wherever it has been created. So it will be uploaded on your platform. I'll be showing you PPTs also, some of the PPT, not all the time, but the general mode of the class is the discussion. Then, so I'll be doing the analysis, I'll be telling you the stories, I'll be telling you the provisions, I'll be telling you the events then, and then after these discussions, we'll be writing also. So we'll be writing these all things. So written form, that particularly what you are going to in your notebook, it is going to be most important, and that's the most, in my way, that in my opinion, it is the most effective form of learning. Then once you are listening to the things and then in your own handwriting you are writing the things, then so that's the most effective way of learning, and it is proved beyond a point that it is the most effective way. For some of you, maybe it may differ, that some of you are digital friendly and then you read digital things, but it's not for everyone. Then so it's not for everyone. So that would be the mode of the classes. Another thing that regarding your queries, so your queries would be that obviously that we are here to entertain your queries and then also reply to your queries, but at the same point of time there is a responsibility on you that you will be asking relevant queries. Then relevant queries, what do I mean by the relevant queries? Because in online classes what happens that since you are faceless, then you are not just in front of me, so many times we are kind of going into the domain where we can ask many questions, that so many questions which we can address at our own. Then so because if you ask so many redundant questions, so that will kill the time of the classes. And that will kill the time of the classes. So if at all, the modern Indian history is going to get completed in 22 classes, so maybe it may take more than that. Then, so this is a request from my side to you that please ask questions. You are encouraged to ask questions, but the questions should be relevant. Then, so, and that's how you will be orienting yourself to the right path of the preparation, whereby you will be asking relevant questions. Then you can ask that how can I decide that what is the relevant question and what is redundant question. So in this you will be getting help from the team also, that the coordination team which is there, and also most important, you will have to help yourself. How come? So you will have to see the previous year paper, look at the questions that in the previous year paper in whichever subject or whichever subject you are reading, just look at the previous year paper, just look at the prelims paper, mains paper, that what kind of questions they are asking, and then accordingly you can frame your questions. Then so see that the class, if it is delivered in a monologue fashion, it is uninteresting. Then it must be a dialogue. Then and in this online era, particularly this pandemic period, so online classes are a savior. Then but here there is a one difficulty, that we cannot have a face-to-face interaction at this point of time, which also I likened this face-to-face interaction, and there was a huge hell lot of fun in the classes when we were face-to-face. Then so that is not available. So anyway, we will try to make the classes a dialogue through the interaction, and interaction through your questions. Then so interaction through your questions. So let's begin with the agenda of the today's class. So first of all, when you are going to prepare for any such examination, what is the first act that you do? So the very first act that you do, you look at the syllabus of the exam. Without looking at the syllabus, you cannot prepare for this exam or any other exam. If you don't know the syllabus, so how come what you will prepare? If you're going to prepare for this bank PO examination, suppose that SBI PO examination, probationary officer examination, and you're reading that art and literature, so art and literature will not come into the bank PO examination. So this way, you need to know exactly that what has been mentioned in the syllabus. And moreover, that this is also what we have observed, what we have seen over the years. I myself, I'm seeing it from last 10 years in the vision itself, that what I have observed. So the people who have mastered the syllabus, mastered means that it is there on their tongue, that what is there in the polity, what is there mentioned in the economy. So they are much closer to the selection than those who have not mastered their syllabus. So very first thing that you need to do in any of the subjects, that you master the syllabus of your GS paper, and also master the syllabus of your optional. So why I'm saying so? Because suppose that I'm just giving you one idea. Suppose that you have just memorized the syllabus of the modern Indian history. You have memorized the syllabus of the polity in the paper too. So, today's newspaper, suppose that you are seeing the newspaper, and in newspaper you came across one heading. So that heading is similar to what has been mentioned in the syllabus. So there is no requirement for you to ask anybody else that what to read in the newspaper, what not to read in the newspaper. Your syllabus, if you have memorized, you yourself will be able to know that this is the portion that I need to read from the newspaper, that I need to jot down, that I need to make notes of this one. So this way, remembering syllabus helps you a lot when you are reading the newspaper or any other magazine. So please do this thing, that memorize the syllabus of not just the modern Indian history, but also all the portions. So your tool, so first tool is the syllabus. Now, this exam has two stages, you know that, and this is not something new which I'm telling you, as if that this is a very new thing. So this, you know it very well, that it has in fact, 3 stages. Interview is also a stage, but the written one. So 2 stages, so prelims and mains. So in prelims and mains, so when it comes to the syllabus in the prelims examination particularly, so the syllabus in the prelims examination, it's incongruous, not very well defined, but they have given you a fair idea that what you are going to study. So as far as this history is concerned, so what they have mentioned, history of India, history of ancient, medieval and modern India. So they are not asking you to read the world history, which means that world history is not the part of the prelim syllabus. So you are not required to read the world history, but you will be reading the history of the ancient India, medieval India and also the modern India. So they are asking you to read and also the culture of India. So that art and culture, ancient, medieval and modern India, this is the way in which they have mentioned the prelim syllabus. They have not clearly mentioned that what all portions. So since they have not mentioned what all portions, it means that you need to have a wide coverage of all the things which happened in the ancient, medieval and then the modern. But when it comes to the mains exam syllabus, so they have specifically mentioned that what they are expecting, or what you are expected to read in the modern, particularly in the mains examination. In art and culture also, that in mains examination they have clearly mentioned that what all topics you need to take into the consideration for the mains exam preparation. So it is mentioned, and as I said, that world history is not mentioned in the prelims examination, it is a part of the mains examination. So in mains examination, another section of the history is getting added to your course, that is the world history. Moreover, in the mains examination, one more section of the history, that historical underpinning and historical things which happened after the independence, that is the post-independence. We generally call it post-independence. So that is also one portion which is there in the mains examination, but not in the prelims examination. So we will start, since I said that prelims examination syllabus is little incongruous, but very clarity is there in the mains examination syllabus. So let's begin with the syllabus of the modern Indian history. Then, so, Rohit, on kar dena. Just let me connect this thing with the give me a minute. Listen, there is a problem with my device, so I'm not able to connect the things which are there. when I'll be giving you the break, so then I will see that what is the problem, technical glitch over here, so then I can find out that what all things that I needed to deliver, but no issues. As I said to you that I use PPTs very less, but since it was the very first class, so I was about to show you a few things related to that modern Indian history. So what I'll do, that I am just telling you in a kind of that just or give me 5 minutes, एक 5 मिनट ब्रेक लगा दो, हम चेक कर लेते हैं, ठीक है? So now the problem is solved, but it is very disgusting when you are in a rhythm and then because of these all kind of things that all of a sudden everything is happening in your class all of a sudden. That yesterday's night, 11 o'clock, I got the information that I need to take the first class over here, and then this all of a sudden is, let's hope that later on these all kind of glitches must not be there. So let's begin with what I was saying, that I was emphasizing on the syllabus. Then so I was emphasizing on the syllabus, that why you need to understand the syllabus, and moreover without this, that without understanding the syllabus you cannot have the fair idea about this examination. So when you look at the syllabus, so prelims examination incongruous, but very clarity is there in the mains examination. So just look at what is mentioned over here in the mains examination syllabus. So they have made two parts of the modern Indian history, and these two parts, so first of all, modern Indian history from about middle of the 18th century until present, significant events, personalities and issues. Then so significant events, personalities and issues. So middle of the 18th century, what is the middle of the 18th century? 1750 is the middle of the 18th century. So we need to look at that what all kind of events started to happen from 1750s. This was the time, that 1750 was the time when we talk about the events. So there was a rivalry between the European companies, particularly the French East India Company and British East India Company. Moreover, this is also the period when Britishers started to intervene in the internal affairs of the Indian princely states and also the French. So British were more successful than the French. So basically Battle of Plassey, that Battle of Plassey, one such very big event in the history of this country. Then Battle of Buxar, after which Britishers they got so many political rights, financial rights in India. Then so Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar. Then significant events, then personality. So when you talk about the personality, so who was the initial personality in this phase? For example, that the French governor Dupleix, then the British governor Robert Clive, then Sirajuddaulah, Mir Qasim, Shah Alam. So there are many other people, who were important personalities at this point of time, and we will be looking at that what was their contribution, what kind of initiatives they took. So these all kind of things would be discussed over here in this very first part. So the first part is about modern Indian history from 1850 and the significant events and the personalities and the issues. Then now you look at the second part of the syllabus which is mentioned here. So they are saying the freedom struggle. They haven't called the first part of the syllabus as the freedom struggle, but the second part they are calling as the freedom struggle. Then so the freedom struggle, its various stages and its important contributors and contributions then from the different parts of the country. So its various stages. So when we say which particular time we say that freedom struggle is going to start. So you know that the first portion of the modern Indian history, which is middle of the 18th century, this is the phase of the consolidation of the British East India Company in India, and moreover they are slowly acquiring the political, financial, economic rights in India, and they are slowly becoming imperial power in India. They are becoming the rulers of India. So this phase is all about the consolidation of the Britishers in India, and this consolidation of the Britishers faced a huge resistance from the Indians in the form of the 1857 revolt. So in the form of the 1857 revolt, which was the great revolt against the British, till this point of time there were so many small revolts, but they were not as great as this 1857 revolt. So 1857 revolt was a landmark in the history of the India, which changed many things. Then not in the benefit of the Indians, but to the benefit of the British. Already that British were getting huge benefits from the Indian territory, but few things happened which changed the political history of India. So what was this? That after 1857 there was a transfer of power. You know, before 1857, the India was ruled by the British East India Company. It was a company which was ruling about the masses of India. But after the 1857 revolt, the British Parliament and the British Crown, it took the direct control of the Indian administration, and now we became the subjects of the British Crown, direct subjects of the British Crown. So there was a transfer of power, and there was changes in the policy also. Changes in the policy also. So after the 1857, it seemed like that people started to feel that they are oppressed by the Britishers, they are discriminated by the Britishers, and Britishers are economically exploiting the Indians. So after the 1857 revolt, before 1857 there was no such spirit of the nationalism, but 1857 revolt's biggest contribution was implanting the seed of the nationalism in the minds of the Indians, and many intellectual Indians and then middle class Indians, they started to feel the same, that how Britishers are oppressing us how Britishers are oppressing us, and they are colonizing not just this country economically and politically, but also they are colonizing this country with mind also. So they started to feel this thing, and slowly many political organizations started to emerge. Regional political organizations started to emerge, which started to assert the political rights for Indians. They started to demand more political rights for Indians, more Indians in the legislative councils, assemblies, and moreover reforms in the civil services examination. More Indians must be given entry into the civil services examination. So these all things started after 1857 revolt. But so many regional organizations were there. There was a requirement of an All India organization, and this All India organization was created in 1885. That was the Congress. So after the creation of the Congress, you know that the stages, the different stages. So it is said that with the creation of the Congress, the first stage of the freedom struggle started. So that's what we are referring, that it's various stages. And then after the formation of the Congress, then there would be another stage where we say that Swadeshi movement started. So different stages of the freedom struggle. And who were the contributors at this point of time? So for example, that in the initial phase of the Congress, or in the initial phase of the freedom struggle, Dada Bhai Nehruji, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, so they were the contributors, and their contributions we will discuss. Same way, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, then we can also mention about the Annie Besant, and then later on Gandhi, Nehru, everybody, Patel, Bose. So these all people are the contributors, and their contributions that would be there. And from the different parts of the country. So it is also saying that you just not stick to the only north, west and east India, but you also need to find out that who all from all the other parts of the country participated in the national movement and what was their contribution. So these all things you get a hint from this particular part of the syllabus. Particular part of the syllabus. Now look at the next part. So this is trend analysis. So trend analysis, only for this section I needed this PPT, because I have clearly that I have seen the number of the questions, and then I have created this PPT. Otherwise, it is not difficult to remember, but if it is there in the written form, so that's more helpful. So, and one more thing I just need to tell you here. Before trend analysis, ये सब खत्म होने के बाद I will be telling you the entire history today, but listen, I will be using some terms, some kind of keywords, that some keywords or some words which are maybe, it is very much possible that maybe you will not be understanding. That ki separate electorate bol diya, kya matlab hai iska, what is the meaning of? So don't jump into asking that what is the meaning of the separate electorate, or don't jump into the asking that what is adult suffrage. So these all terms which I'll be using today's class, it's just for an indication. And these all terms which maybe I'll be using in the today's class, they will be explained in the full entirety whenever that particular portion would be taken in the classes. So don't worry about that any term which I'm using that you are not able to understand. Today is all about understanding the story. And one more request to you, that please don't write any part of the story in the today's class. You just try to listen. Generally what happens that when we start saying something, you start writing, and then people start posting the request that sir thoda dheere ho jao, main likh nahi paya. So aaj ki class likhne ke liye nahi hai. It is not about the writing, it is just about the listening, so that you can have a fair idea that how our history evolved, what all things happened, and what was the causation of that particular thing. So let's look at the trend analysis, or particularly that what all number of the questions which were there in the prelims examination from the section of the history. So here the section of the history includes ancient, medieval, modern and art and culture. Then so ancient, medieval, modern and art and culture. So here I have incorporated modern, ancient, medieval and art and culture combinedly. So you look at the questions. So why I have taken 2011 as the beginning year? Because 2011 was the year, if you know. So this is the year when the new pattern in the prelims examination started, and students started to reckon on the two papers. First was the GS paper 1, 100 questions, and the second was the CSAT paper, 80 questions. And till 2014, both the papers were used for reckoning, then so used for deciding the cutoff. But from after 2014 onwards, only GS paper is used for deciding the cutoff. Then so that you know, I hope you know, but if you don't know, so that information already delivered. So let's look at in GS paper from 2011, how many questions UPSC have asked in this particular history section. So you see 15, 11, 2012, 19 question, then 13, 16, 22, 16, 17, 15, 21, 16, and if I'll have to 2020, so this year, which we have seen, so 2020, 17 questions. Then, so this much questions UPSC is asking from the history section. So this much questions UPSC is asking from the history sections, and moreover, when you average out these all number of questions which UPSC has asked, so it comes around 17 questions, lagbhag average 17 question you can expect, that average 17 question you can expect from the history section in the prelims examination, which makes, and many a times that it has gone to 22% also, 22 question, 21 question also. So that is the maxima, and what is the minima? So minima is 15. So मतलब 15 से नीचे नहीं पूछा है पिछले 10 साल में. So you can expect at least 15 question, and on the maximum side 22 questions. So we can say that near about 17% of the paper is from the history. Then so near about 17% of the paper from the history, and rest of the 82% or 83%, 82 to 83% of the paper is from the section economics. It is from the section polity, geography, science and tech, then environment, ecology and current affairs. Then so you have 6 sections for the 80 questions, then, and one section altogether 17 to 18 questions from the one section. So that's what makes history as one of the most important subject, not only in the prelims examination but also in the mains examination. We'll see the mains part also, but first of all in the prelims it is very important. So the nature of the questions that we will see later, that what kind of, when we will be in the topics, so there I'll be telling you that what question they have asked from this topic in the prelims and mains examination. So then you will get to know about the nature of the questions. Then so that's altogether a different discussion. So here you are looking at the trends, so whereby you can say that you can expect average 17 question from the modern Indian history section. Modern, not that overall history section, including modern, ancient, medieval and also art and culture. Then so this is about the number of questions. Then next one, mains examination. So trend analysis in mains. Now, so here, since ancient and medieval is not a part of the mains examination, but there is a root of ancient and medieval question in the mains examination. And what is this root? Art and culture. So not only they specifically asked the art and cultural aspect of the ancient and medieval India, but there are many things which have happened in the ancient and medieval history. They are asked through the root of the art and culture in the mains examination. Then so here when we see the number of the questions which were asked in the mains examination, so particularly that 2013 is the year. Why here I have taken 2013? Because this is the year when the new pattern in the mains examination started, where by 4 GS paper and 1 optional paper, which has 2 papers. Then so 1 optional with 2 papers pattern started. So 2013 was the year, and in the very first year when I talk about 2013, so there were in GS paper 1 25 questions were there. Uske baad, that after that they started to decrease it to the the 20 questions. So they are asking, some year they have asked 25 questions in GS paper 1, but generally they are asking these days only 20 questions from the in the any paper, GS paper 1, 2 and 3. 4 में तो अलग हिसाब किताब है, that you know कि case studies would be there, part A and part B. So part A is the one is the case study and another is the subjective questions which are there. So 20 questions, you can expect 20 questions. So in 2013, you see that in GS paper 1, 8 questions including modern and then art and culture. Here also 14, 8 questions. 15, 7 questions, 16, 5 questions, 17, 5, 6, 6, and then 2020 is awaited. Then, so let's see that how many questions they are asking. But, यहाँ पे एक चीज important है. What is that? Here only modern and art and culture. If you add two more things, then, and what is two more things? World history and post-independence, which is also the part of the history. So these numbers will increase. So I am not posting this here because the world history part will be done by the faculty. Whoever would be taking the classes, he will be telling you that what number of questions were there. But generally, to give you fair idea, generally they ask 2 questions from the world history. So 2 questions पूछते हैं. And post-independence is little bit unpredictable. Why so? In the first 2 years, in the very first years, they asked 4 questions in the post-independence. Then they asked 1 question, and all of a sudden, that after this 2014, 4 year, there was no question from the post-independence. So it is unpredictable that, and you know about the UPSC. UPSC works in a fashion that, suppose that 4 or 5 years they haven't given any question from the post-independent, and all of that, and then you started thinking that अब तो नहीं पूछेगा, पिछले 4 साल में नहीं पूछा है, so अब तो नहीं पूछेगा, and then suddenly UPSC will drop 2-3 questions from the post-independence. Then, so you cannot afford to skip any section. Not just this section which I am taking, that any section which is mentioned in your syllabus. So you need to touch each and every section of your syllabus, so that even if in 1 year UPSC thinks that it will be asking more questions from that section, so you are not in a disadvantageous position. Then, so I have not incorporated those things. So this is only modern and art and culture. So you can see that average, you can say 5 to 6 questions. Average 6 questions, 6 to 7 questions we can say is from the art and culture and modern Indian history in the mains examination. And चलो अगर जो मैं इसको 7 ही कर दूं, ठीक है? Suppose I'm taking 7. Then, so 7 into 12.5, you can do the calculation, and 7 into, suppose 6 हो गया, so 6 into 12.5, so basically it will come around, so 75 marks you can expect, that 75 marks question from these 2 sections, and if you add post-independence and world history, so near about 100 mark question is from the history, and you have society in the paper 1, you have geography in the paper 1, so geography is also a major chunk of the paper 1, so rest 150 marks questions that would be there from the society and then the geography. So this is about the number of the questions in the mains examination. Now one more thing, when I was making this PPT, so it was somewhere around May, this year May. So I thought that this year, that earlier you guys were there was a face-to-face interaction. So many of your queries were handled in a personal space, that after the class is over, you are coming over here, and then we were talking about the cutoff and everything. But since this time that we are not interacting in that fashion, in offline fashion, so I thought that I will incorporate some cutoff kind of thing also. So quickly I will tell you about the cutoff and these things. I hope that by the time many of you would have worked upon this thing, that you have looked back at the cutoff and then what all things are, that what all kind of trends are there in the exam regarding the interview call and these all things. So very quickly I will just brief you about this one. So for example, that till 2018 I have entered the cutoff in the prelims examination. 19 we have the result of the 19, so I can mention 19 also. So 19 cutoff was the, I think 98 was 2018. It is also 98. Then yes, these 2 years 98 cutoff was there. So you look at the cutoff. यहाँ तक ये जो 200 वाला कट ऑफ है 2013 and 14, this is the year when both the papers were added, GS paper 1 and CSAT paper, for deciding the cutoff. So that's why cutoff is little bit high. and if you want to know 2011, so 2011 में जो cutoff था that was 198, and 2012 the cutoff was 200. I think that this is 209. So 209, and then suddenly 241 and 205. This year cutoff was little high because the nature of the question, it was favoring the people from the engineering background and also the people who were good in the aptitude, particularly who are preparing for the SSC CGL examination, Bank PO examination. So the paper 2 was easier for them. In fact, these first 4 years of the CSAT exam were considered as the 2011 to 14. It was considered as the golden age for the engineers. Then where a hell lot of engineers cleared the exam just on the basis of the paper 2. They didn't need it to prepare even paper 1 very well. In fact, there is an example from my own family where my cousin, and he is engineer, I will not tell much more about him, but otherwise he will be embarrassed then. So he, for first 2 years, he was not preparing GS paper 1, as if that he is just reading the GS from Lucent. Who reads the Lucent? Then Lucent, that people, those who are preparing for the CGL examination, they read GS from the Lucent. So he once referred Lucent, otherwise he was relying only on the paper 2. And in this year 2013, then so in 2013 what happened, that he scored 52 marks in GS paper 1, and you know how much marks in the GS paper 2? 194 marks in GS paper 2, that CSAT paper. So this is really, this is very freak that people were scoring like this, 190s, 186, then this was the score. And on the other hand, the students from the humanities background, they were scoring more in the GS paper 1, but they were not able to score in the GS paper, that CSAT paper 2. So that's why there was so much of protest and everything. So 2015, it was decided that cutoff would be only based on only GS paper 1. So 107, 116, 105, 98, 98. And this year, looking at that, the people who are writing mains this year, so looking at this, we can say that this year's cutoff is 96 or 95. Then, so 96 or 95. So when you look at these 3 years, कितना परसेंट है ये पेपर का? 200 में से 98. So 290, out of 200, if you're getting 98, that is how much? 49%. Then, so 49%. So basically, if you're getting 50%, so you are clearing the prelims examination. So basically, if you are getting 60%, that 120 marks, so you are clearing the prelims and forest examination also. So what idea you will get from this, that you can never target for out of 200 you are going to get 190. That is not possible. That is insane. Then, so that is not possible. So you can get good number in some years, but you don't need to master everything. Then you don't need to master everything. And even after mastering that, you have read a book of 1500 pages book and you have mastered each and every word, you cannot be sure that you will be getting the same number of marks like 190, 170. No, that is not possible. Here you don't need to be emotional. Here you need to be very smart, whereby you will be working hard and working smartly so that you can clear the prelims examination. And if at all, if you are appearing for the forest examination also, so then you can clear forest also. So this cutoff is an indication. Though it's not my job to do this in this class, but I just brought this so that you can have an indication that what you can target for. And I have the list of the mains examination and interviews also, which I will not discuss in the class. So this PPT which is there, it will be uploaded. It will be uploaded on your platform. So you will get to know about these all things. So I don't need to explain it further. All the things are mentioned over here. So you can look at the same. Then, so let's move to the next part. So next part, even final selection I have added. So yes, a reference book. So I am cutting short the reference book here, क्योंकि अभी नहीं बताऊंगा. Reference book, let me go with the flow of the class related to the brief history and the timeline. And in the end of this class, we'll be talking about the reference books, and I'll also be entertaining your questions related to the reference books, that what all reference books you are going to buy, or already you have bought. So these all questions will be addressing after this timeline kind of thing. Okay? So let's move to the So modern Indian history. So as I said to you, the timeline is very important. So let's begin with the timeline. Let me show you the overall things which are mentioned in this PPT, and then one by one I'll be starting with the background of these all things. So though the important events, important things which are happened at this point of time, so that I'm going to mention, and then this is also an indication that how the course is going to happen, कि पहला topic क्या होगा, what would be the next topic, what will follow next. So this way you can also be clear about. So chronology of the events. So advent of Europeans, then we'll be talking about advent of Europeans, then we'll talk about the later Mughal emperors, then we'll talk about the regional kingdoms and intrusion of Europeans, then like the regional kingdoms of Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, then Maratha, then Punjab. So these all, and then after the freedom struggle, the second part of the syllabus. Then so second part of the syllabus. So second part of the syllabus I'll show you later, but let's begin with the very first one. So now listen. First of all, ये कौन decide करता है? Who decides that which particular period we can call ancient, which particular period we can call medieval, and which particular period we can call modern? Then so in fact there is no clear definition. It's all agreed definition, agreed terms. Then so it's all agreed terms or implicit terms, or it is commonsensical that what we can call ancient and what we call medieval and what we call modern as far as Indian history is concerned. So generally, that what is the belief system? So generally, and what is the common sense? So the indigenous rulers of India, and also the happenings from the prehistoric times till the 10th century AD, we keep it in the ancient category. But even in the ancient, after the death of the Harshvardhan, and from early 8th century, which is somewhere around 712, 713, so 712-13, when the first Islamic invasion happened in the Indian subcontinent, so that we term as the beginning of the early medieval. So we are not calling it the early medieval. So 712 AD, we can call it the beginning of the early medieval. Then, and many a times it is also referred as the late ancient. Then, so late ancient or early medieval. But the firm medieval period is with the establishment of the Islamic rule in India. So this is what is commonsensical, that the establishment of the Islamic rule in India, we consider it as the beginning of the firm medieval rule in India. And what about the modern? So modern, the main syllabus itself gives you an indication that what we can consider as the modern, and this is particularly the 1750, when Britishers consolidated their power in India. So that can be said as the firm modern, but even उसका भी एक background है. 1750, before 1750 there is a background. And what is that background? That advent of Europeans. Then that how these Europeans are coming to India. Slowly they are increasing their power. Then slowly they are increasing their power. They are waging fights in India. They are winning territories in India. And by 1750s they have come to that they have acquired such a that powerful position in India that they can even defeat the Indian rulers. Then so the background part is the beginning, and then 1750 onwards, when they have firmly established their rule, not all over India but some parts of India, so that we can say is the firm beginning of the modern. Then so this way there is no such clear-cut division, but it is a commonsensical division which makes that what is ancient and what is medieval and what is modern. Then so when we talk about the modern, so I said to you that 1750 onwards we can say that formally it is a modern, but there is a background of this modern. Without the background you cannot know that how these all things happened. So that background is the death of the Aurangzeb. Listen to me very carefully. Advent of Europeans and death of Aurangzeb. Listen, this particular Mughals came to power in India from 1526, and they were in power by 1707. Then so 1707 was the year in which Aurangzeb died. And again I'm emphasizing, please don't write any of the dates, any of the names in the today's class. जरूरत नहीं है, बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. You just need to listen to. Then, so, and one more thing, that today, maybe nahi, reality, I am fast and I will be fast because I'm telling you the story, and I'm telling you the story not to write but just to listen. So please bear with the speed, and from tomorrow's class when we will be discussing, analyzing and writing, so the speed of the class would be moderate, quite moderate, very comfortable with you, and it will be according to your own pace. Then meanwhile I'll be asking you questions कि मैं बहुत तेज तो नहीं पढ़ा रहा हूँ, so I will wait for your replies that am I dictating very fast, so when your replies will come, so accordingly we will moderate. Then so we will moderate, so that would be according to your pace in the beginning. Then and आज की class fast होगी because it is a story. So what I was saying that last Mughal emperor was the Aurangzeb. 1707 he died, and one such feature of the Aurangzeb, that Aurangzeb's rule, that during the time of the Aurangzeb he controlled a vast territory in the Indian subcontinent. Then so he was ruling in the west, he was ruling in the east, he was ruling in the north, and he was also controlling almost 75% territory of the South India. Then so 75% territory of the South India. So that these Mughals had, you can say that, complete control over India except one or two places, but complete control over India at the time of the Aurangzeb. The death of the Aurangzeb resulted into the beginning of the, or not beginning, the arrival of the later Mughals. Then arrival of the later Mughals. So why we are calling them as the later Mughals, and aren't they the blood of the Mughals? So in fact, they are the blood of the Mughals, and these later Mughals are the Mughals only. But we are calling them later Mughals because 1707 onwards, Mughals are not powerful. The kind of power that was exercised by the Aurangzeb, that kind of power is no more with the later Mughal emperors. Then, so I'll come back to this topic, when I'm mentioning the chronology, and in chronology later Mughals. So that is the one thing. Then moreover, we'll come back to the later Mughals. So 1500 onwards, these European companies, they started to come to India. So advent of Europeans. So this is the beginning of the story. So advent of Europeans. So from 1600 onwards, these European companies, they started to come to India. And you know, you must have heard stories, and these all informations must be available to you, that discovery of India was done by the Vasco da Gama, as if that India was not known to anybody. So this is a very deceitful term to say that discovery of India, that Vasco da Gama discovered India, as if that there was no India before Vasco da Gama. Then so this is not a right term. Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route, to direct sea route to the India. Then that's the correct term that we must be using. Same way, some people, they say that Americio Vespucci, that he discovered America. Then so it is not Columbus. So Americio Vespucci, so that person discovered America. So it is not like that उसके पहले अमेरिका था ही नहीं और इसी बंदे ने discover किया. No. He discovered the direct route to a particular place. So this way we can say that Vasco da Gama discovered the direct sea route to the India in 1498 and in 1497 in fact. So 1497 in fact, and then moreover, so the Portuguese East India Company was the very first to come to India. And one more thing, that when the Portuguese came to India, so at this point of time, one more type of the question which UPSC is asking nowadays very frequently, the contemporary rulers. Then so at this point of time, 1498, अभी मुगल रूल नहीं है इंडिया में. Then this point of time, Lodi dynasty was there. So Lodis were the ruler at this point of time when the Portuguese came to India. Then 1600 English East India Company was created. So after 100 years, that this first 100 years is dominated by the Portuguese company. Then after 100 years, you see that this English East India Company is getting created, and this English East India Company, it was created in 1599 itself. It was renamed in 1600. And then from 1600 onwards, that 1600, particularly 1607, 1608, many envoys of the Britishers, they started to come to India to seek the permission from the Mughal ruler. So 1600 ke time pe Akbar was the ruler, And then from 1605, the ruler was Jahangir. So basically, the British envoy which came to India to seek the permission of trade and commerce in India was at the time of the Jahangir. Then, so they started to come to India. So they seeked the permission and they established their own trade outpost in India and warehouses in India. Then, so this company came in 1600. Dutch East India Company was created in 1602, but the Dutch people were doing trade and commerce with India way back at during the time of the Akbar itself. So at the time of the Akbar, Dutch people were they established trade with India, and they were trading with the during the Akbar's regime. So they formed a company, and then this company started to come from the 1602 onwards. Then Danish company, the company from the Denmark, was the next, and the last company, European company, to come to India was the French East India Company. So French East India Company, it was the last company to come to India. Just give me a minute. So last company to come to India. So with the arrival of these all companies, basically that they had their own vested interest also. There was a competition between these all companies also, and moreover, they wanted to excruciate maximum benefit from India. So there was infighting between these companies also, and at the same point of time that slowly these companies, that not only they are infighting, but they will start fighting with the Indian powers also. So after the advent of Europeans, the next thing that we need to talk about is the interference of this particular Europeans into the Indian politics. Then, and also on the same lines that on one hand later Mughals are there, and on the other hand these European companies, European people, they will start to interfere in the internal politics of India. So what I said to you, 1707, I'm getting back to this particular story. So 1707, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb died, and his son, who was already 65-year-old, Bahadur Shah first, he came to power. Then, but as I said to you that now they were not as powerful, as wealthy as the Mughals who were at the time of the Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. Then, so when Bahadur Shah first came to power, so there were many such regional kingdoms. Listen this carefully. There were many regional kingdoms like the Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, Chhatrapati Shivaji was there, who established the Maratha Confederacy, Maratha Empire. And then there were in other areas also many regional kingdoms were there. So these regional kingdoms at the time of the Aurangzeb, somehow Aurangzeb controlled directly or indirectly these regional kingdoms. But these regional kingdoms, that they were waiting for the death of the Aurangzeb to reassert their autonomy. So at one place later Mughals are the rulers. On the other hand, there are many other regional kingdoms are emerging at this point of time. Powerful regional kingdoms are re-emerging. So this we will be talking about. And moreover, in the later Mughals itself, at the time of the later Mughals, that so many emperors would be there. We'll be discussing all the names then and their contributions. So basically that there was this later Mughal emperor Farrukhsiyar, who gave a royal farman to the Britishers in 1717, and that royal farman of the Britishers gave undue advantage to the Britishers in India. Then so gave undue advantage to the Britishers, and they started to consolidate their position in India. Then the other Mughal emperors, that later Mughal emperors that we'll be talking about, like Muhammad Shah Rangila, and he was a man of a no character. So man of a no character, and during his time the Mughal glory was badly hit. So Mughal glory was badly hit. Moreover, during the time of the Muhammad Shah, foreign invader Nadir Shah of Persia, he invaded Delhi, and moreover he looted Delhi. After the demise of the Nadir Shah, one of his successor Ahmad Shah Abdali, he did more more, he hurted India much more than what Nadir Shah has done. So Ahmad Shah Abdali, 7 times he invaded India, and there was a very famous battle between the that Ahmad Shah Abdali and also the Maratha in 1761 Battle of Panipat. So we'll be discussing that in detail later on. Then another very important personality from the later Mughal emperors was the Shah Alam, and he was a man of a courage, but he was a man of courage, but the Mughal glory was beyond redemption. Whatever he can do, he cannot revive the Mughal glory. Then, so Shah Alam was a good person, but that nothing was in his control at this point of time. And you know, the last Mughal emperor, that last later Mughal emperor was the Bahadur Shah Zafar, who was at the time of the 1857 revolt, and in fact he is the one who gave the leadership to the 1857 revolt, and he had to bear the brunt of this particular support to the 1857 revolt, whereby Britishers captured him and they deported him to the Mandale jail in the Myanmar, where he died. So with the death of the later Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Mughals rule completely wiped out from India. Then so Mughal rule completely ended from India. So completely ended from India. This is one side of the story. On the other hand, these later Mughal emperors, as I said to you, that they are not that powerful like their predecessors. So they are not that powerful. So obviously those regional kingdoms which were controlled by the Aurangzeb, now they reasserted their freedom. And not only the regional kingdoms reasserted their freedom, but some new regional kingdoms were also created, or new regional states were also created. So here I will try to drop some words. I will not be fully explaining it over here, so that whenever the topic we will start, there I'll be explaining in entirety. So basically, that some of the regional states which emerged at this point of time, they were the successor state of the Mughal. And here I'll define that what is the successor state. Basically that the people who created these regional states, they were the members of the Mughal nobility. For example, Bengal was the successor state, Awadh was the successor state, and Hyderabad Carnatic was the successor state. So these were the successor state, means that these kingdoms were established by the nobility of the Mughals. Then those kingdoms who were there from the long time, and they reasserted their freedom and they re-established their own rule in the different part of the country. So these were the rebellious state, and these rebellious states included Mysore, Maratha and Punjab. So I am mentioning only these only few powerful regional states. There are many other princely states in India, but that's not to be discussed. Then, so these are the 6 more very powerful regional states. Moreover, these regional states are emerging at the time of the later Mughal. On one hand, Mughals' power is declining, regional states emerging, but there is one more party in this case who is also slowly consolidating its power, and that party is the British East India Company. So British East India Company is also increasing power, and moreover this British East India Company is increasing power. At the same point of time, there is one more very imperial power which has so much of that strength and to wage a fight in India. That was the French East India Company. So British and French East India Company are rising parallelly to the regional kingdoms of India. So obviously what I said to you in the beginning, that presence of so many European companies in India, there would be competition between them. And why competition? Because they are here to do the trade from India. So obviously they will be buying the goods from India and selling it to the European market. Then so there is a competition. So they were infighting also. So the other European powers like the Portuguese, Dutch and Danes, they were not a challenge to the British East India Company as like the French. Then so the confrontation with the French started, and this confrontation with the French and British, we call it the Carnatic Wars. Then so we call it the Carnatic Wars, and this is how the European companies started to do the intrusion in the Indian regional kingdoms, and they also started to fight with each other. So listen carefully, that this Carnatic, why we call the Anglo-French rivalry is the Carnatic area, because Carnatic War, because this was happening in the Carnatic area. And which area we refer as a Carnatic area? Particularly Tamil Nadu, Chennai area, Kanyakumari area, the hinterland of the Tamil Nadu. Then, so the Coromandel coast of the Tamil Nadu and also Andhra, and then also the hinterland. So this is the Carnatic area. So in Carnatic, these two companies started to fight. Then, so these two companies started to fight. Which are companies? French East India Company and British East India Company. And you know, the reason of this fight, first of all, there was this French governor, Francois Dupleix, who started the strategy of intervening in the internal politics of India. So when he started, so Britishers were very easily followed the suit. Then, so they very easily followed the suit. They also started to do the same thing. And when both the parties are doing the same thing, so obviously confrontation is there. And in this confrontation, they are also bringing to the plate the Nawab of the Carnatic area. Then, so who also became the party to this one, and moreover, even the Hyderabad was also dragged into the Carnatic Wars. So, as such, that these three Carnatic Wars were fought, and in these three Carnatic Wars, the fate of the French East India Company was decided, and in 1760, this battle happened, which is known as the Battle of Vandivas, in which the French East India Company was completely defeated, routed by the Britishers, and the imperial ambitions of the French East India Company was cut short by the Carnatic Wars, by the Battle of Vandivas, and British emerged as the only imperial power in India. Then, so now they have just removed the European threat from their rise. Then, and moreover, they have also defeated, Britishers have also defeated in 1759 the Dutch, who were important power, but they were defeated, and Danes, since they were not challenged to the Britishers. Why so? Because they were more involved in a missionary activity rather than the trade activity. So it was not a challenge. And with the Portuguese, Britishers did a friendly relation. Then, so they established a friendly relation. So that's how they never touched Goa and these all parts which was controlled by the Portuguese. And then Portuguese at the same point of time, they never interfered in the areas of the British East India Company. Then, so there was a friendly relation, and basically this friendly relation was the matrimonial alliance between the Portuguese and then the Britain. So this is how the British campaign is starting. Then you see that this is the story of the first part before 1857 and the rise of the regional kingdoms and how these regional kingdoms are slowly annexed by the Britishers. Then, so slowly annexed by the Britishers. So the state, the Carnatic, I told you. Then another state which is going on parallelly in fighting with the Britishers, that is the Bengal. So Bengal, as I said to you, was the successor state of the Mughals. Then, so Bengal was the successor state of the Mughals, meaning that the person who founded Bengal, he was the nobility of the Mughals. Then, so Murshid Quli Khan was the nobility of the Mughal. Then Murshid Quli Khan. Then after the Murshid Quli Khan, Ali Wardi Khan, he further consolidated the scheme of the development in the Bengal, and Bengal soon became, it is the richest province of India. So obviously, when the richest province of India is the Bengal, so Britishers will have a close eye on the Bengal, and somehow they will hatch a conspiracy. So under this conspiracy, they kind of incited the courtiers of the then ruler Sirajuddaulah, and Battle of Palasi happened, and in Battle of Palasi, that the courtiers of the Sirajuddaulah, they effected a coup, particularly the military commander of the Sirajuddaulah, he effected a coup, and in this coup Sirajuddaulah was captured and he was killed. Then, so Sirajuddaulah was captured and later on he was killed. So Battle of Palasi was the landmark event as far as the Britishers' history is concerned in India, because that with the Battle of Palasi, Britishers received huge amount of donation from the Bengal Nawab, and later on there was one more fight of the British with the Bengal Nawab Mir Qasim and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam, and then the Nawab of Awadh Sujauddaulah. So this was the Battle of Buxar, and in this Battle of Buxar, Britishers defeated the Grand Alliance, the Mahagathbandhan of the Shah Alam, and defeated, these all people. So in this Mahagathbandhan was when this was defeated. So Mughal Emperor Shah Alam was forced to grant the Diwani right to the Britishers. And what is this Diwani right? The revenue collection rights of the Bihar, Bengal and Odisha, which is a big feather in the hat of the Britishers at this point of time. So big feather in the hat of the Britishers at this point of time. And with this particular kind of rights Britishers getting in India, they have acquired political rights in India also, political financial rights in India also. Earlier they were only a commercial body, but now they are becoming a political power in India with these two battles. Then, and moreover, in 1760 they have eliminated the French East India Company from the scenario of India, and they will not pose any threat to the British ambitions in India. So you see that now Carnatic is under the control of the British, then, which is the Madras area, and then also the Bengal is under the control of the British. So two areas politically they have acquired by this point of time. Now the next turn is the Mysore. So they will be moving to the Mysore. Now you look at the Mysore, these all things which I have mentioned, again we'll be discussing later on. So first of all, when we talk about the state of the Mysore, so Mysore was not a state which was originally belonging to the Hyder Alian family. In fact, there was a dynasty which was ruling in the Mysore, and name of this dynasty was the Wadeyar dynasty. So Wadeyar dynasty was the ruling dynasty of the Mysore, and Hyder Ali was a soldier in the army of the Wadeyar dynasty, but he was a man of fortune and he was the man of ability. So with his own ability, he removed the Wadeyars from the Mysore and he became the ruler of the Mysore. Then, so he became the ruler of the Mysore, and under Hyder Ali, Mysore advanced in leaps and bounds, and moreover, Mysore also became one of the richest provinces of India. And so one hand, Mysore's power was rising, but Mysore area was touching the areas of the British Carnatic, and Mysore, the territory was touching the area of the Carnatic, and then also the Hyderabad, which was under the influence of the British. So obviously Britishers wanted a confrontation with the Mysore, and first they fought with the Hyder Ali, and they also incited Nizam of Hyderabad and also the Marathas to fight against the Mysore. Then, and he was very successful in his that British East India Company was very successful in the endeavors. So after the death of the Hyder Ali, his son continued the struggle against the Britishers, but he was very unfaithful, because finally he was in the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, he was defeated and killed while defending his capital Seringapatnam. Then, so these all story that what all things were happening in the Mysore, we will be discussing in very detail. So you got to know that how Britishers are advancing. You're just looking at the course that how Britishers are slowly moving from 0 to 100. Then, so 0 to 90, not 100. They never became 100. Then, so 0 to 90. So now, if you look at the map of India, then so let me quickly draw this map of India so that you can understand that what all things, that how that, and here we will have to include Pakistan also, because that was also the part of India at this point of time. So you just look at this map of India. So where was the Bengal? Where was the Bengal? Now, here is the Bengal, which is already there in the control of the British. This area is the Hyderabad, which is also under the influence of the British. This area is the Carnatic. This is also under the influence of the British. And this area, this here, I can say Mysore. So now Mysore is surrounded by Hyderabad and Carnatic, which is under the influence of the British. Now, when they have captured Mysore, when the British have captured Mysore, this area, Maratha. So now Marathas are encircled by the British. देख रहे हो धीरे धीरे that how the Britishers are encircling the important Indian powers. And when they are done with these all area, so then they will look at this area, which is the big state of the Punjab. Then, but out of these all, Bengal was rich, Mysore was rich, but most powerful was the Maratha. Then, so most powerful was the Maratha, and that's why Britishers took a little bit of time to come to the Marathas. They increased their own power, they encircled Maratha from all the sides, and then they defeated and annexed them. So next is the Maratha. Now, one part of the Maratha, listen, one part of the Maratha, basically the Shivaji's time. So Shivaji was the contemporary of the Aurangzeb, and in fact there was a big confrontation between the Aurangzeb and Shivaji. So big confrontation between Aurangzeb and Shivaji, and that we will be discussing in the medieval then. But Shivaji established the Maratha Empire, and after the death of the Shivaji, so his sons continued the tradition, that continued the administration of this area. So, after the death of the Aurangzeb, that Maratha people reasserted their autonomy, and then started from 1713 onwards the rule of the Peshwas. Then, so the rise of the Peshwas, and Peshwas further increased the glory of the Marathas, and they established themselves as the most powerful people in India. Then, so this is a reality, and this is a truth, that Marathas were the most powerful at this point of time under the Peshwas. Then, but that how Marathas were defeated by the British, it was all a fortunate incident for the Britishers then. And what was this fortunate incident? That Marathas were not defeated initially by the Britishers, which weakened them, but in fact it was the Ahmad Shah Abdali who defeated Marathas in the Third Battle of Panipat 1761. And with the defeat of the Marathas in Third Battle of Panipat, actually that Abdali did not control the Indian area, but it paved the way to the rise of the British East India Company, and the weakened Marathas, they are going to fall prey to the Britishers then. So Britishers will start intervening in the politics of the Marathas from here onwards, and then by 1818, so by 1818, the Third Anglo-Maratha War, Maratha area would be completely annexed by the British then. So Maratha area would be completely annexed by the British. So this is how now they have controlled Maratha. Ab bacha kya? That Punjab. Then so Punjab is remaining, and big regional power. So listen about the Punjab. So Punjab, the independent state of Punjab was established by Maharaja Ranjit Singh then in 1790s, and Maharaja Ranjit Singh was very much aware that if at all he has to rule in his own area, he will have to establish a very strong army. So he will have to establish a very strong army. So in fact that he established the second strongest army of the Indian subcontinent at that point of time, and first obviously it was the British East India Company's army. So he established, and since he established a very strong army, so the confrontation which was looming on Punjab with the Britishers, that did not happen, and in fact there was a friendship treaty between the Punjab ruler Maharaja Ranjit Singh and also the Britishers, whereby the Britishers promised Maharaja Ranjit Singh that they will not intervene into the Punjab politics till the time that they will not intervene to the Punjab politics till the time Maharaja Ranjit Singh is alive. And after the death of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh in 1839, Britishers started to intervene in the politics of the Sikh, and then within 10 years only they completely annexed the Punjab. So they completely annexed the Punjab in 1849. The Sikh state of the Punjab was annexed by the British, and with the annexation of the Punjab, the process was complete for the British East India Company. Moreover, you can say that these areas are blank. So it is not like that India did had only these much kingdoms, that there were many small princely states and kingdoms. Even इनके बीच में भी बहुत सारे थे. Then so here also some princely, Bhopal state is there, Jodhpur state is there, Udaipur state is there. So there were many princely kingdoms. Then so many princely kingdoms were there. So now after 1849, Britishers started to kind of that their greed was increasing, because there is a limitation to the need, but there is no limitation to the greed, and British's greed was increasing. So they effected many policies. We'll be discussing these all policies, like the subsidiary alliance, and then also the doctrine of lapse, whereby they were trying to incorporate the princely states. For example, Jhansi was a princely state. They tried to incorporate Udaipur, Bhagat, Sambhalpur. So there were many princely states they tried to annex. And this particular incident after 1849, it irritated the feeling of the many princely states, and one of the reason which incited the 1857 revolt was the hastily annexation of the princely states by the Britishers in this period. So that's how 1857 revolt happened. Moreover, I didn't mention, but what we'll be reading regarding that before 1857, that to regulate the affairs of the company, there were many regulating acts and the charter acts. So that also will be mentioning, and you don't need to be concerned about that कौन सा topic होगा या नहीं होगा. आज story है which उसमें मैं हो सकता है ये ना बोलूं कि civil services भी पढ़ाएंगे वो भी पढ़ाएंगे. Everything would be taught in the classes then, so you don't need to concerned about this particular part, that historical underpinnings would be there, constitutional underpinnings would be there, then also the pillars of the British administration would be there, education, rise of left, right, सब कुछ होगा. But here you are listening just the story. So I hope you understood that this is the first part of the syllabus which is getting completed by the annexation of the Punjab. Then we will talk about the next timeline, which is the timeline related to the freedom struggle. Then so freedom struggle. So since I'm speaking like anything that continuously, so obviously I need a break. So after the break, I'll continue with the rest of the story, and the last part of the today's class would be the reference books. Chalo. So let's begin with the next part of the story. So next part of the story, basically the freedom struggle. So before starting the freedom struggle, I just need to tell you that 1857 revolt I talked about. It happened in 1857, and many things changed after the 1857. And the Indians there was absence of the spirit of nationalism among the Indians before 1857 revolt. Now it started to rise. And the biggest contribution of the 1857 revolt was planting the seed of the nationalism in the minds of the Indians. And so planting the seeds of the nationalism in the minds of Indians, and that's how they started to that make people aware about their political rights, their economic rights, their social rights. And moreover, they also started many intellectuals of India and middle class people of India, nationalists of India. They started to create some regional organizations, and slowly these regional organizations, they gave rise to the All India organization, and this All India organization was the Congress. Then so All India Congress. So the formation of the All India Congress happened in 1885. So this is after 1857 revolt, formation of All India Congress 1885. And the formation of the All India Congress, it was possible because of the efforts of the Indian nationalist leaders, and moreover one more person whose contribution cannot be discounted, and that person was the British retired civil servant Ellen Octavian Hume, A.O. Hume. So with the formation of the Indian National Congress, the Indian nationalism got different manifestation, and Indian freedom struggle started. So Indian freedom struggle started, which we call as the phase 1. Then so phase 1 or the stage 1. Now listen, 1885 to 1905 we call the Indian national struggle is the stage 1 or phase 1. There is a reason behind calling it the phase 1 or reason that stage 1, because in this stage the Indian nationalist leader, they were of the belief, first we need to aware the masses regarding their political rights. First we need to prepare them. It's not like that all of a sudden you decide that I will fight with the Britishers and everybody will join you. First you need to convince them. First you need to convince them in their minds that this is necessary, and first you need to tell them that how they have been exploited, how the Britishers are oppressing them, and from the generation after generation they are getting oppressed. So their important task was creating awareness among the masses, and also making people believe, and not just the believe, that making people see that what kind of discrimination they are going through. So these early nationalists who were there in this first phase, they adopted the methods of the constitutional agitation, prayers and petition within the four wall of the law. That means that they were not breaking any law, but they were addressing to the Britishers, they were addressing to the British authorities that what they need to do in India, they were asserting their political rights. Then, so this was about the early phase of the Congress. Then, but what happened, as you can see that what is mentioned over here, so you can just refer it, but otherwise you listen to the story. So 1905, that from here onwards, Britishers became very aggressive, and they became aggressive to completely control the affairs of India, control the affairs of India, and moreover, that it is the British who planted the seed of the communalism among the Indians. It is not a new thing which has happened to India, whereby you see very often that Hindus and Muslims are fighting with each other. Very recently, in this year, 2020 itself, on February 8th, there was this communal riot in India. So one of the biggest contributor to the communal rise or communal feeling, or the planting the feeling of the hatred toward in one community against the other community, the reason is the Britishers. They are the one who planted this. So on one hand, there was a seed of nationalism which was planted. On the other hand, Britishers have planted the policy of the divide and rule, and they have planted the seed of the communal hatred in India. So from 1905 onwards, Britishers started to plant the seed of the hatred and policy of the divide and rule, whereby in 1905 they declared the partition of the Bengal. In fact, before the partition of the Bengal, there was a statement that Bengal united is a strength and Bengal divided will fall apart. Then, so this is what they have mentioned earlier, that Bengal united is a strength and Bengal divided will fall apart. So this is what they did, that they divided Bengal on the lines of the Hindus and Muslims, whereby what they did, that they created two parts of the Bengal, East Bengal and West Bengal. East Bengal with the Muslim majority population and West Bengal with the Hindu majority population. So for the very first time in our Indian history, that provinces are going to getting divided on the lines of the Muslim and Hindus. Then, so this is the very first manifestation of the divide and rule policy. But this was heavily resented by the Indian leaders and the leaders who were there in the Bengal, not just the Bengal, but all over the country. That so the people who were there in the Maharashtra, the people who were there in the other parts of the nationalists who were there in the other parts of the country. So they all protested against the partition of the Bengal. And with the partition of the Bengal, the second phase of the Indian national movement started, which we call the Swadeshi movement. So Swadeshi movement started, but you know that you cannot always think, and not always kya, kabhi ho hi nahi sakta. This can never happen that everybody will have the same kind of thinking. Even I am a nationalist, you are also a nationalist, but that does not mean that the path that you will follow, I will also follow the same. We can have different paths. So same thing was there in the Congress also. That in Congress as an organization came to power because of the moderate leaders. Then that the leaders who believed in the prayers and petition and the constitutional methods. But over the period, the nationalists who were there in the Congress, they were some of the nationalists who were there in the Congress, they were seeing that prayer and petition se kuch nahi ho raha hai, theek hai, ek ghaas tak nahi ukhad rahi hai. So this is what was happening. So nothing was happening with the prayers and petitions. So they forwarded the idea that why not back the prayer and petition with the passive resistance. Then so why not back the prayer and petition with the passive resistance. So this what they called they used in Swadeshi movement. Then, so Swadeshi movement started, though there was an ideological division among the Congress leaders, that some leaders were moderates, believing in the constitutional agitation. They didn't have capacity in they didn't have faith in the capacity of the masses. On the other hand, the other stream of the Congress leaders were known as the extremist leaders, and they were of the belief that we need to initiate a mass movement to force the Britishers to grant us our political rights. Then, so the division started, the ideological differences started in the Congress, and Britishers were very well aware with this situation that there is an ideological division, ideological diversion in the Congress. So why not use it also? So what they did, that not only they are planting on one hand they are planting the seed of the communalism, on other hand they are also trying to divide the Congress. Then so same concept would be applied over here, that Congress united is a strength and Congress divided will fall apart. Then so the same statement will apply over here. So what they did, that first of all in 1906 they facilitated the formation of the Muslim League on the communal lines. So Muslim League was actually, it came to picture because of the help of the Britishers, and that's how till the end of the modern Indian history, basically the partition, it is the Muslim League which is most loyal to the Britishers. On the other hand, that Muslim League, when it was created, so reaction to the Muslim League was the formation of the Hindu Mahasabha in 1907. So these two organizations organization were always there in the confrontation mood, and not only the confrontation mood, but they were also the mouthpiece of the Britishers to incite the communal violence in India. Then Britishers started to conciliate with the moderate leaders, and they baited them, that the moderate leaders of the Congress, that they baited them that if you guys are controlling the Congress and if you guys are dominating the scenario, so obviously that in 1909 we'll be proposing the constitutional reforms and more concessions would be given to India. So they made the moderate leaders believe that Britishers will do something in India. And in this scenario, what happened, that 1907 Congress session happened at the Surat. So in this Surat, the Congress machinery was captured by the moderate leaders of the Congress and extremist leader of the Congress like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Arvind Ghosh and Bipin Chandra Pal and Lala Lajpat Rai and many other followers of these people. They were expelled from Congress, and this what we call the disastrous division of the Congress, which we call as the Surat split. So in Surat split, India has seen the scene. Then so India has seen the scene which was never seen. Then so though it is rhythmic, but that's how. So India has seen the scene which India has never seen, and that was that Indian leaders, that the Congress leaders who were fighting for the Indian struggle and Indian freedom, they fought with each other in such a manner that was very distasteful and that was very disgusting. If you are the one who are the poster of the Indian national struggle, they hurled, the extremist and the moderate leaders of the Congress, they hurled everything that they got in that particular assembly. They hurled on each other, juta, chappal, kursi, mage, everything that they got, they hurled on each other. So it is not new thing which is happening in the Indian parliament every time, but in fact the beginning, the foundation of this kind of protest and this kind of disastrous division was let down during the 1907 Surat split. So you know who is laughing at this point of time. Basically the most clever people in India were the British, and now they have their last laugh in the Surat split, that now they were successful. So they were successful, and what happened to the moderate leaders? So moderate leaders were already baited by the Britishers, and the extremist leader of the Congress, they were imprisoned, they were behind the bars, and some of them were deported outside India. For example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was jailed outside India in Mandale for 6 years. Then so he was deported for the 6 years. So this way they suppressed the extremist leader of the Congress, and on the other hand they baited the moderate leaders of the Congress. And meanwhile 1909 Government of India Act came to picture, and what was expected by the moderate leaders? They were expecting some concessions for themselves, but in fact 1909 was the reflection of the another reflection, manifestation of the divide and rule policy of the Britishers, whereby the Britishers forwarded the idea of the separate electorate for the Muslims. Then so this you see that we have never thought this way, that Muslims or Hindus are separate political, economic, social, cultural entity, but this is what was done by the Britishers, that they said that Muslims do have the separate political, economic and social interest which does not coincide with the Hindus, so that's why they will be having a separate electorate. I will not be explaining separate electorate over here, I have already told you, because that I would be explaining later on, but I hope that you are getting some idea that it's a kind of a concession which is given to the Muslims separately and as an advantage to the Muslims. So obviously this was something which was targeted at dividing the Indian society on the communal lines then, and it was not liked by the moderate leaders. But who is responsible for this? Responsible for this were the moderate leaders, because they are the one who accepted the British proposals then, and now the fate is the separate electorate. Now moreover, the extremist leader of the Congress, they are outside India, then they are deported, they are inside the jail, and moreover the youth of the India was getting frustrated with this kind of attitude of the moderates and the constitutional reforms of the 1909. So the youth of India, they thought that they will resort to the violence, and many violent activities happened from 1914 onwards. One of the violent movement at this point of time was the Ghadar movement. Ghadar movement initiated in outside India, particularly from the Americas, but it got reflection in India, though it was suppressed, but it was a violent movement which believed in the violent overthrow of the Britishers from India. And one of the reason of the start of the Ghadar movement was the World War I, in which चल रहा है ठीक है. So there is electricity cut. मुझे भी 1 मिनट दे दो, पानी पी लूं, नहीं तो इसमें नहीं है इंटरनेट, कोई नहीं, उसको चेक कर लेना बेस्ट. So what I was saying to you, I was in a flow. भूल गया मैं कहाँ था. So I was telling you, yes, World War One. So World War One, that the life of the Indians became perilous because of the World War One. Then, so life of the Indians became perilous because of the World War One, and there were so many hardships in India itself. Then after this incident of the Gadar movement, what happened? 1914, this person, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, was released from the jail, and he came back to India. रोहित, ये भी ऑफ हो गया है स्क्रीन मिरर, उसको कर देना. So he was released from the jail, and he came back to India, and he also started to initiate some kind of political activity in India, though on a more cautious level, not on a confrontational level with the Britishers, but on a cautious level. Meanwhile, one more personality was there in India. Her name was Mrs. Annie Besant. Annie Besant, she was a citizen of the Ireland, but in 1890s itself, she came to India. And she came to India, and she was the president of the Theosophical Society also. And over the period, she became more Indian than many of the Indians. Then, so she was colored in all the Indian colors. Then, so in fact, she became Indian. So Annie Besant also wanted to start a home rule movement on the line of the Irish home rule in India. And this is accordingly the home rule movement, self-rule, they demanded. So Tilak and Annie Besant, they started Home Rule movement in 1916, and many things happened at this point of time. So Home Rule movement, the biggest contribution of the Home Rule movement, though no movement you can say that complete success, but every movement has a bout of the success, and this bout of the success with the Home Rule movement was that this particular Home Rule movement, it spread the spirit of nationalism in the nooks and corners of the country. Then, and moreover, one of the biggest contribution of the Home Rule is the rise of the ardent nationalist from each and every part of the country. So rise of the ardent nationalist from each and every part of the country. So Home Rule's contribution was this. So Home Rule contribution was this. Meanwhile, I have mentioned Lucknow session, Lucknow Pact. This will be mentioning later on. Here, we don't need to mention it. Now, we need to talk about the Gandhi at this point of time. नहीं आ रहा है उस पे? अच्छा, just give me a second. It's not connected. So now on one hand, Home Rule movement is going on. इसके पहले, before Home Rule movement, there is a one personality who is not there in India. When we talked about the Swadeshi movement, and when we talk about the formation of the Congress, so there is a one personality who is not in India. But in fact, most important personality in the Indian freedom struggle, Mahatma Gandhi. Then, so Gandhi was born in the Porbandar, and this is not a very surprising fact that I'm telling you. I hope you all know it then. So he was born in the Porbandar. That's not an issue. What he did after that we need to know. So he studied law from the England, and he became a barrister. And as one of his assignment, he had to go to South Africa. There was one Gujarati merchant, Dada Abdullah. So to sort out his legal problems, Gandhi went to South Africa in 1893. So Gandhi was in South Africa to sort out the legal problems of his client, and he was able to sort out the problem within 2-3 months only. But when he was about to return, so he was persuaded by the Indians in South Africa that those indentured laborers from South India and from India in the South Africa, so they requested Gandhi to stay a little bit more and address their problems also. So Gandhi stayed for 1 month, but he went on to stay. He was requested for staying 1 or 2 months, but he went on to stay next 20 years. So from 1893 to 1914, Gandhi was in South Africa. So in South Africa, there were many phases of the Gandhi's struggle, phase 1, phase 2, that we'll be talking about. And in South Africa, finally, before coming to India in 1915, Gandhi was successful in South Africa, and whatever he wanted for the Indians over there in the South Africa, he was successful by applying all his methods. So Gandhi was now 1915 and 1916. This is the time that Home Rule movement has started in 1916, and that's the time that Gandhi is also in India. So Gandhi is in India. So Gandhi, that in his initial years, he looked at the situation in the country, he toured all over the country, and then slowly he started his campaign. Then, so first he decided that he will look at the regional issues, and then here we'll be talking about the Champaran issue, which Gandhi addressed. Then Ahmedabad mill strike, which Gandhi addressed, and Kheda Satyagraha, which Gandhi did. So Gandhi was successful in this regional issues, and then his popularity started to increase. So on one hand, home rule is going on one hand, the popularity of the Gandhi is increasing. Then, so Gandhi is increasing. Then in 1918, when the Government of India Act, Montagu-Chelmsford reforms were announced. So what happened? Annie Besant accepted it, and she withdrew her home rule movement. Then, and this particular person, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he was outside India. So home rule started to become ineffective at this point of time. So you know, one very such grim incident which happened in 1919, that one bill was passed by the Britishers, that is the Rowlatt Bill, which was aimed at curtailing the civil liberty of Indians. So in the protest of the Rowlatt Bill, Rowlatt Satyagraha started, and in the event of the Rowlatt Satyagraha, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened, which stunned the nation, then which stunned the Indian leaders, Indian nation, each and every person of the India. So Gandhi, who started the Rowlatt Satyagraha, he withdrew the Rowlatt Satyagraha, and he decided, he took a resolve that he will be starting a much bigger mass movement, and this mass movement was the non-cooperation movement. Moreover, at this point of time, World War has also ended, and there was a mistreatment to the Turkey and mistreatment to the ruler of the Turkey, Khalifa. Then, so on the mistreatment to the Khalifa, Indian Muslims were enraged with the mistreatment to the Khalifa, who they considered as their political guru. Then, so spiritual guru or political guru. So Indian Muslims were affected by, they were disaffected by this particular treatment which was meted out to Turkey by the British. So they wanted to start a Khilafat movement against the Britishers. At the same point of time, Gandhi wanted to start non-cooperation movement. So Gandhi thought that this is a great opportunity to bring unanimity between the Muslims and Hindu, to make them united, and he used this platform, and then he initiated the Khilafat non-cooperation movement with the support of the Khilafat leaders. Then, so Khilafat non-cooperation movement, but Gandhi was a man of a belief and value. Then, so his belief and values were more intrinsic to him, more particular to him, and more special to him than anything other. So he always believed that his movement, he always believed and said to the masses that his movement must be the reflection of the ahimsa and satya. Satya, ahimsa, truth and non-violence. But what happened? Due to this violent activity in the Chauri Chaura, Gandhi had to withdraw non-cooperation movement. So Gandhi, when he withdrew non-cooperation movement, so what happened? That rather than taking action against anybody else, Britishers imprisoned Gandhi and charged him with the seditious activity. So Gandhi was in the jail. When Gandhi was in the jail, so he was a very important member of the Congress. So in the Congress there was this discussion that what we should do, that Gandhi is already inside the jail, and what should we will be doing at this point of time. So the discussion in the Congress started, that they started to say that the Government of India Act 1919 has come, so why not use the provisions of the Government of India Act and enter into the councils then, and hinder every work of the council. So on this discussion there were two factions in the Congress which got created, pro-changers and no-changers. I'll be defining them later on. So here you just listen, pro-changer and no-changer phase of the Congress, in which there was a confrontation also, but they did not reach to a stage which was there in the Surat split. So Congress was not divided, though the differences were there, but it was not divided. And finally the pro-changer no-changer phase was also over by 1926, and again the people who were called as the pro-changers, they came back to the Congress fold. Then, so they came back to the Congress fold. So this is what happened. Then after this episode, and Gandhi was also released from the jail on the health ground by 1924. Then, so now again there is a reinvigoration of the political activity in India. Meanwhile, what happened in the Britain, one commission was created. Name of the commission was the Indian Statutory Commission. And what is this Indian Statutory Commission? Basically what we call Simon Commission. So Simon Commission was created, and what is this commission all about? So this commission was going to review the Government of India Act 1919 and further propose the constitutional scheme of the India. But the problem with this Simon Commission was that it was going to decide the constitutional future of India, but not a single Indian was accommodated in this commission. Then, so it was an all-white commission. So when the Simon Commission came to India, so it was decided by all the parties in India, including Muslim League also, that they will be opposing the Simon Commission. Then, so Simon boycott started, and in the series of the Simon boycott itself, that the Sere Punjab, Lala Lajpat Rai, was hit on chest by lathi charge, and then he died. And his death was avenged by the revolutionary Bhagat Singh and his colleagues. Then, so there is an episode related to Bhagat Singh also that we'll be talking about. Then, so here I have mentioned him in one line only. So we'll be mentioning him in detail. Another thing which is there at this point of time, so Simon Commission protest when it started, so the Secretary of the State in India, Birkenhead, he threw a challenge before Indians कि अगर जो इतना ही नापसंद है Simon Commission, if you guys are so irritated with the same, so why not you guys create the constitutional scheme for India with the consensus of all communities? The last line is very important, with the consensus of all communities, because they were knowing it very well that there cannot be any consensus in India in the constitutional scheme. Then, so when all the parties are involved, because Muslim League will always oppose, Hindu Mahasabha will always oppose, so they were knowing it very well. So in this regard, Nehru Committee under the chairmanship of Motilal Nehru was created, and they submitted the Nehru report, which was rejected by everybody. Then, so there was no consensus as already known by the Britishers. Then, so when the Nehru report failed, so what happened after the Nehru report failed? So then the Congress session of the Lahore happened, and where Congress decided that only Purna Swaraj is their aim, that is the complete independence is their aim, and Gandhi ji was assigned to launch the civil disobedience movement, which he started in 1930, and 1930 was also the time when Britain called the round table conferences. Then, and in this round table conferences, all the Indian political leaders and political parties were invited, representatives of the different section of the Indian society were invited to participate in the England. So it was a equal status meeting, but Congress did not participate in the first meeting, and since Congress did not participate in the first roundtable conference, it was involved in the civil disobedience movement. So the Viceroy Irwin, he was pressurized by the British government to bring the Congress to the table, and as such there was a Gandhi-Irwin Pact, from which this year there was a one question in the prelims paper. So Gandhi-Irwin Pact, and by the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Gandhi was allowed to go to the Britain to participate in the second roundtable conference. But even after a powerful advocacy in the roundtable conference, second roundtable conference, Gandhi came back empty-handed, and Britishers, when he resumed civil disobedience movement, so Britishers, they executed civil martial law in India, and brutal suppression was there. So finally Gandhi had no option just to withdraw the civil disobedience movement in 1934. Meanwhile, there is one more episode of the Gandhi and Ambedkar confrontation in 1932 related to communal award. What is this communal award? Further extension of the separate electorate to the depressed classes or Dalit classes also, which Gandhi saw as an attack on the Indian unity. Then, so there was this particular debate also, and the communal award also, and the Pune Pact, which we'll be discussing later on. So after this, next you listen. So after this, just give me a time. So after this, what was there? 1934, this government of India, not 1934, that 1934 civil disobedience movement, it was withdrew by the Gandhi, and 1935 Government of India Act came. So there were more proposals, some good proposals were there in the Government of India Act, whereby they were going to give more self-rule rights to the Indians then, and moreover there was the proposal of the formation of the federation then, which will include the princely states also and the British ruled territories also. But princely state rejected this particular provision of the Government of India Act, and what happened? So other provisions came into the effect except this federation provision. So Government of India Act, one of the proposal in the Government of India Act, though I'm not telling you all the proposals, I'll be telling you later on when the classes would be there. So one of the provision was regarding the provincial elections then, and as per the using the provisions of the Government of India Act 1935, provincial elections happened in 1937, and in the 11 provinces of India elections happened, and in elections Congress formed ministries. They got majority in the 6 provinces. They formed ministries in 3 more provinces with the coalition government, and 2 places some other governments were there. So you can see that Congress has ministry in the 9 provinces of India, and they did some tremendous work during their short rule in the provinces. Then in 1939, when the World War II broke out, so when Britain declared that India to be the party to the World War II, so at that point of time Gandhi asked to the Britishers that how one enslaved nation like India can help Britain against the fascist forces of the Hitler. So against the fascist forces of the Hitler. So this is what the question he asked to the Britishers, and soon after this the Congress ministries resigned from the provinces, after which Gandhi initiated individual satyagraha. So individual satyagraha was not for the immediate independence, but it was giving a strong expression, political expression to the Indian people. Then so individual satyagraha. So when he started individual satyagraha, on the other hand, there was a pressure on the Britain that they must get the cooperation of the Indians in the World War II. So in this regard, Cripps mission was sent to India, but the proposals of Cripps mission were seemed to be abortive, and also it was so divisionary that Indians rejected it, and moreover Indian got angered with the Cripps mission. And after getting angry and frustrated with the Cripps mission, Gandhi was also very angry at this point of time. He decided to launch the Quit India movement. But Quit India movement, the moment he decided to launch the Quit India movement, next morning itself, 9th of August 1942, all the major leaders of the Congress, they were arrested. But this Quit India movement spirit was kept alive by the underground movement and by also the parallel government. So we'll be talking about them. Here I'm not explaining what is the underground movement and what is the parallel government. So this is what happened. Then another thing that there is an episode of the Subhash Chandra Bose also. Subhash Chandra Bose, who was the Congress president in 1938, re-elected in 1939, but due to some internal divisions in the Congress, he resigned from the Congress and he went to Germany to seek the help of the Hitler and Mussolini to raise an army to fight against the Britishers, and then he came back to Singapore, where he gave leadership to the Indian National Army, and he created this Azad Hind Fauj, and he started his campaign. But this, due to the ill-fated Imphal campaign, Azad Hind Fauj surrendered to the Britishers in Singapore, and that's how the INA trials. So Indian National Army prisoners who were arrested, their trials started in India, and this is what we call that the Indian National Army prisoners trial, that there was a huge upsurge in India. And then after the INA trials, there was the RIN revolt, that revolt in the Royal Indian Navy because of the discrimination, racial discrimination. So they also revolted, and this revolt of the Royal Indian Navy is considered as the last nail in the coffin of the Britishers. And after this incident, that INA trials and RIN revolt, which is Royal Indian Navy revolt, so British Prime Minister Clement Attlee decided to send a cabinet mission to India, though the cabinet mission, that the proposals of the cabinet mission, some of the proposals were accepted by the Congress, then not all, but some were accepted by them, and as such, interim government was created, constituent assembly was created, and then after that constituent assembly, and then this was created, and then finally the British Prime Minister Clement Attlee declared the proposal related to the India's freedom, and in this effect Mountbatten's plan came, and under the Mountbatten's plan, India was to be divided into the 2 parts, Pakistan and India, and then also the boundary commission was set under the chairmanship of the Sir Radcliffe, and freedom of India was on 15th of August 1947. So this is the entire story that I wanted to tell you, and moreover, I need to gasp a little bit. for air. So this is entire thing, that this is what we'll be seeing. So now you have a fair idea that what all things we'll be looking at, and there are few other things which I have not incorporated in the story, so that already I have conveyed to you. Each and every part would be covered over here in the classes. So now is the time that I'll be showing you the reference books, that what I'm going to suggest then, and then you can also ask your questions then. So this point of time you can send your questions. So Manish and Abhishek, you can send any question that students are asking. So now I'm moving back to the next part of the class, that is the reference books then. So let's have a discussion on the reference books. So listen, what I need to tell you over here, इस पे कुछ आया नहीं अभी, आएगा ना, उधर भी नहीं आया. So reference books. So listen, see that you may have question that कि विजन की तरफ से भी तुम्हें written material मिला है, उसका क्या करना है, ठीक है. So first of all, let me tell you that before moving into the reference book, first my request would be that you need to master your class notes, and believe me, your class notes are going to be very exhaustive then. So very exhaustive, and to assure you, I just want to tell you that what has come from the class notes in the previous year paper. So what I said to you in the beginning, that 17 question average you can expect, and out of the 17, believe this, that you will have to believe, if you want to check, so you can do the check by looking at the previous year notes of the classroom. So whereby this year 17 questions were there, and out of the 17 questions of the history portion, 13 questions are exactly mentioned in the class notes then. So this is one assurance that I want to give you, and moreover this year little bit of that, some questions were little bit of more factual nature, so that's why the ratio was 13. Otherwise most of the time, that out of the 17 questions, I do have the record of the class notes that 14 to 15 questions are there from the class notes. So you need to have you need to master the class notes first. Then apart from the class notes, there are many such similarities between the themes and the concepts which is mentioned in the vision notes. So you can refer it, but that is optional to you. I'm not pressurizing, or this is not my watertight suggestion that you must do this. Then this is all optional. Moreover, that these reference books, I will say some of them are optional, but one is necessary. And which is necessary? The Modern India Arjun Dev Old Class 8th NCERT. Now let me tell you that Modern India Arjun Dev Old NCERT, Class 8th NCERT, this why I'm recommending that when I'm looking at the number of questions which UPSC has asked in the modern Indian history, and the book which has maximum number of the information, and from where that we can trace most of the questions. So this is the one book, that Modern India Old NCERT of class 8th, which was written by the Arjun Dev. But there are other modern NCERTs also. For example, that there is an NCERT of the Bipin Chandra, class 11th. This is also good. If you want to read, so you can read. It's up to you. There is also that new NCERTs. So new NCERTs of other subjects are good, but modern ka acha nahi hai. Mat padna. Themes in Indian History Part 3. I feel that that is not a good book. So you can easily leave that book then. So my recommendation is this book, but if you have already started with the Bipin Chandra NCERT, वो भी ठीक है, जा सकते हो उसके साथ. तो एक ही पढ़ना, don't read two. Now, what about these two books? So these two books, Struggle for Independence, Bipin Chandra, and plus means that more writers are there. Then Brief History of Modern India, Rajiv Vahir, Spectrum Publication. So these are optional. Optional का मतलब, it is up to you. You want to read, you can. I will not recommend. Then this is not my necessary recommendation. They are helpful. Obviously they are helpful then, and they are helpful. That's why they are very popular in the market. So it is optional to you, but you must read the NCERT. That is my request to you. So you must read the NCERT. So let me show you some images related to these books which I have recommended. क्योंकि बहुत बार लोगों को confusion होता है कि कौन सा book खरीदना है. एक लाल वाला मिल रहा है, एक पीला वाला मिल रहा है, एक नीला वाला मिल रहा है. So let's look at the image. So this is Spectrum book, The Brief History of the Modern India. This is the new Spectrum book which is there in the market. You know, earlier the Spectrum book used to be this much thin, but now they have made it this much. So they have increased the number of the pages in the Spectrum book. You don't need to read all the pages. And if at all, many of you have bought this particular book. So I will be telling you that what all chapters to read, what not to read later on. Not today's class, but let me see that how many of you have bought this one, or how many of you are going to buy this one or bought this one. So then accordingly, I will suggest you. So this is the book which is there in the market, but if you get the old Spectrum, so usse अच्छा कुछ भी नहीं है, you can buy that old Spectrum. If you get some from somebody also, so then that is best. Then this is the Bipin Chandra's, not NCRT, this is the Bipin Chandra Penguin publication book, which I have mentioned over there. So India's struggle for independence, and these are the four writers. So these are the four writers. So this is, in fact, this is a very good book. It is not a guidebook, but it is an original book written by the Bipin Chandra and these all people. So in this book, this is a thematic book, that themes are there and it's in a story format, but this book is quite helpful during the mains exam preparation. It is equally helpful for the prelims, but it is quite helpful during the mains exam preparation, because you get to know about the expression, that what kind of expression must be there in your answers. So in this regard, this book is going to be very helpful. So this is the Bipin Chandra, and then the another book which is the NCRT book. So abhi ke time pe it is available in the market, even it is available on the online platform, online commercial platforms also. So this is the one, Arjun Dev NCRT, Modern India, History Textbooks of Class 8. So only these books I'm that is my reference list, and this is the necessary one, and the two are optional. If you feel so, you can buy. So let's look at your question. So how to effectively and efficiently study this subject? How many days is required to spend on this subject? See, this Kirtana has asked this question. So see, this is a question which cannot be addressed in 1 or 2 minutes. So I will be, over the period I'll be telling you, once let me start the subject, let me start the course from tomorrow. So from tomorrow, I'll be one by one, I'll be telling you, over the period I'll be telling you that how effectively and what should be the mode of the study. So let me start with the course, then I'll be able to address your question. So I'll remember your question, and then I'll be addressing your question from tomorrow onwards. Then Pratik Mahadev has asked that, sir, is it essential to remember event every year? No. That, see, history के बारे में एक misconception है. People always feel that history means that you need to remember dates and times and everything. Then it's not important. You don't need to remember dates as such, the way you feel like. So it's not required. It's more important, and when you are giving the UPSC examination, civil services examination, it's more important to remember the theme, remember the cause, do the analysis. And when you look at the UPSC paper, you will feel that UPSC is not an exam about asking dates and time. Then they are not concerned about this. Then state pieces examination, they do ask date and time, but it is not the case with the UPSC examination. So don't be overburdened with remembering the is date ko kya hua tha, us date ko kya hua tha. Don't be concerned about this one. Then what amount of time should be dedicated according to the cost benefit ratio? Kamlesh has asked this question. Kamlesh, this is a very subjective question. So very subjective question. It all depends upon the capacity of the person and his own memorization capability. Moreover, that this particular subject, simply what you can do, I will tell you the formula. I cannot tell you that how many hours are required, but because it depends on your own capacity or anybody's capacity. कुछ लोग बहुत जल्दी कर लेते हैं, कुछ लोग बहुत तेजी से पढ़ते हैं, कुछ लोग है कि moderately पढ़ते हैं. So that is different. But I need to tell you that when you look at the sections in the prelims examination, then so 7 sections are there. So accordingly, 1/7 time must be dedicated to the history. Then where to find old NCRT? Tushar, I told you na, I have found this NCRT on Amazon. Then so you can, I am not promoting any online media, but online platform, but you can find it over there. It was there. In fact, when I bought it, so I bought it from Amazon also. But if you are in Delhi, so you can buy it from Delhi, that in market it is available, readily available. Then, and one more thing that maybe some other person will also ask, कि हो सकता है कि that about this particular NCRT where we can get. So there are many photocopiers in Delhi who supply supply the NCERT or essential books to your home. Even if you are in Hyderabad, even if you are in Bangalore, if you want, so there are many photocopiers. When you search in Google, so you'll find that some photocopier from Delhi, they are supplying it to your own area. Then, so now, so Divyansk has asked that, will I be taking the medieval part? Yes, in fact, that ancient, medieval, art and culture, and modern. This is the what I am going to take in your classes. Then, so Meenakshi has asked, can we refer only one book out of these? Which one will you prefer? So she has asked a very good question. She just want to nab my own view here. So Meenakshi, my favorite book was the Bipin Chandra. Penguin publication, Bipin Chandra. This was my favorite book. Though I have seen that many of my friends during the preparation that their favorite book was the Spectrum, but my favorite book was the Bipin Chandra because that's the original book. Spectrum is a guidebook. Then and there are many redundant things which are given in the Spectrum which unnecessarily burden the preparation. Then so if I will have to choose, I will choose Bipin Chandra. Then but I'm not saying कि Spectrum खराब है. जिसने खरीदा है अच्छा है, but बस ये ध्यान देना होगा, you need to be careful that what all chapters you need to read. ठीक है? So the last question is not visible to me, Abhishek. Can you delete some questions from the top so that I can see the last question? It's not visible to me. So Rishabh has asked, India's struggle for independence, written by 4 writers, which you are suggesting, is generally it is believed that it is good for mains and a Spectrum good for. नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Bin sir, should we have to read both or make notes of them? Let me. I got what you are asking. See. This is what misconception I was saying. That misconception that generally people believe that Bipin Chandra for mains. No, it is equally important for prelims. It's only your way of reading and your way of extracting the information from the book. If you want to choose, you can go with the Bipin Chandra. But you need to know that you need to have that particular capacity being developed in you so that you can extract exact information from the Bipin Chandra. So you don't need to read 2 books. Then I was saying that when you will have to choose on the mains level in between Spectrum and Bipin Chandra, so then I will prefer Bipin Chandra on mains level. But prelims level, both are equally good. It is not like that कि वो बुरा है, ठीक है? And anyway, there are so many other things which are going to be covered in the classes. Then so many other things which are going to be covered in the classes. So कहीं किसी भी किताब में, in any book, if it is less, so then we will try to compensate it with the classes. Then so since I have that there is no question on the prompter, there's a one question. So उसके पहले question के पहले मैं बस classes बता दे रहा हूँ तुम लोगों को कि कितने classes होंगे in this modern and everything. So let's look at the. So in modern there would be near about 22 classes. It can be 21. I am targeting for the 21 then, but plus or minus 1 can happen. Not plus, minus 1 will happen. Then ancient and medieval. So ancient and medieval, I have been assigned 10 classes, and then art and culture. So art and culture, 12 classes. So near about 42 to 44 classes I'll be taking in your batch. Okay? So now, Biprajit has asked that I have read history 11 years back. I am worried a lot, and please help. How do I go with the initial approach? Don't worry, Biprajit. It's perfectly fine that no matter whenever you have read, then तुम देखोगे ना that most of the people who are getting selected in this exam, they have not read history after class 10th. Then they are engineers. Then so they are clearing it. So don't worry. Oh, once when we are going to start with the syllabus, जैसे कल start करेंगे, so you will find more. You will be more comfortable. Let me give some time. मुझे time दो. I am asking to you that give me time so that I must make history little bit interesting to you and you can retain it. Then so give me some classes, and then after you revisit your question that you are finding it interesting or you are able to grasp the things in the history. So you don't need to worried about this कि 11 साल पहले पढ़ा था या बिल्कुल भी नहीं पढ़ा था. That doesn't matter in this exam. Then Lanka Durga has asked that can I follow Poonam Dalal Dahiya for. No, not at all. Not at all. You don't need to follow any book. In ancient and medieval also, in another class, I'll be telling you what all books you need to refer, but you don't need to read this book. Do you need to, if you want to overburden your life, you can go with these books, but these are not at all required. Then see, the most important aspect in this exam is the cost benefit analysis. Then, so वो हम लोग बात करेंगे. And what to read for the tomorrow's class? So Gudiya has asked that what to read for the tomorrow's class. कल हम लोग start करेंगे Advent of Europeans. Then, so which is a very unimportant topic. So which is a very unimportant topic from the exam perspective, but it is important from the background perspective. So tomorrow we'll be starting with the advent of Europeans, but one important topic that we'll also be starting tomorrow, that would be the later Mughals. Then, so if you want to read, so you can read these two for the tomorrow's class. Then, so with this note, since all the questions I have addressed, and if at all any question is remaining, so definitely I'll be addressing it tomorrow, and tomorrow formally we will begin with the class. Then, so for tomorrow and for today, thank you, and hopefully that you are going to enjoy this class. Give me some time and let me make history interesting for you. So thank you for today. Meet you tomorrow.